you. Okay, let me see if the mic is working now. I've had this damn mic for a while and I haven't even gotten around to using it. Oh, cool. Well, if you want, you can ask me some questions. I got time to answer. I'm just multitasking here. Okay, good. Just making sure. There we are. I actually just stick to the defaults. I'm not too picky as long as it works. I'm happy. It's I'm very pragmatic that way as an artist, I suppose. this is just one of the paint brushes that I like to use. It adds a little bit of texture there. It's a quick way to get the job done. I actually really enjoy doing this with it, where you can add just a little bit of shading to stuff, and it's pretty simple in how it operates. But some of it comes from back when I was younger. I used to do a lot of watercolor, even though I was never good at it. I like the illusion of texture, which is part of why everything has the odd look here that it does. Between that and the fact that this is a mystery horror comic, and it's supposed to be a little bit more modeled after old 1920s German expressionist silent films. They used to get very dark and surreal, and I really like that stuff. That's actually, I know I'm not the only one, because if you take a look at video games like Silent Hill and things like that, that's where this all comes from. Goofy old German expressionistic stuff that would be so surreal and it would make very little sense, but it was hyper stylized and it really stood out. So here's me just smearing what I just did around a little bit to create more of the illusion of texture and shading and things like that. One of the things I like about Krita the most is it's easier to not screw up than it is to screw up. And since I'm kind I kind of fall up into the latter, no matter what I do, sooner or later it usually bites me in the butt. So I make it a habit of finding the most simple stuff out there that I can use. Oops. There's an example. There we go. Well, I'm I'm not formally taught as an artist. Everything I do is trial and error for the most part. That's why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's also why it takes me so damn long to do stuff. It's kind of odd, but I'll find myself redoing stuff if I know I can do it better. So this whole comic here, I think I left off on chapter 20 something, and then I had to get up and move. Had to start. I'm technically starting over in life, really. But it's, as long as I got a connection, I can still do what I like. I need to be. I am still struggling to be a much faster artist because I can spend so much damn time doing stuff. And the older you get, you'll find the more precious time is. In my 20s, I didn't care what I was doing. I just wanted to get the day over with. Oh, I've been drawing since I was 3. I couldn't draw as well as I do now, but that is, what, 38 years? I'm turning 42 in a few months, so it's all practice and learning what you can, and on the side, because you're going to run into people who can mop the floor with you stylistically and skill-wise, and sometimes it hurts to pour a lot of yourself into something and not get anywhere. But there's a lesson to be learned in that. And it's one of the easiest things in life is to make a mistake. Mistakes kind of suck, but you gotta learn somehow. I think I've only been using Krita now for about a year. It's really a nice bit of software. I'm happy that it's not something I have to pay a lot of money for, which is always appreciated. Seems seems like everything's getting more expensive these days, and it's unfortunate. But those kind of are the times we live in, it looks like. Oh, I bumped it. Just a little bit of that. Yeah, all the animation I do, I'm kind of a dinosaur, so I'm still using Adobe products. I've gotten probably just a little bit too comfortable using Adobe stuff, even though they are a really terrible company now. They didn't used to be, but god damn, they've never been great, but they've kind of hit that point now where it's not even worth pirating, depending on who you talk to. Let's see now. There we are. Yeah, I'm just trying to make it a point to actually finish the projects I start now, because I keep getting caught in other little things that I want to do, and I get sidetracked, and then I don't finish anything, and that starts to become a real drag. There we go. You know, I part of the problem is I actually learned how to draw by mouse, because when I was learning how to do all this stuff, Wacom tablets and things like that were really expensive and really kind of out of my price. So I didn't have a choice. I actually do have a tablet. I haven't gotten around to learning how to use it. Part of the problem also is I'm comfortable doing stuff by mouse, and it gets the job done, but I got to be a little bit more careful on my wrist, because the older you get, the more careful you got to be about tendonitis and stuff like that. I've never been able to do open tunes. I've tried. I've only probably put 4 hours into playing with it. It doesn't feel right. And I learned how to do a lot of shortcuts and other things using Adobe stuff. And part of the problem is you can't replicate that on other people's software, no matter how much better the software is. So I'm kind of a dinosaur. This was like this version. This is Adobe Portable. This was like one of the last ones that they were actually selling before they decided to start becoming a subscription service. So I don't even think there's any support for this anymore. I can't remember how much I spent on it, but if it was more than $200, it was kind of a waste to give Adobe that much, because they just decided to drop support on it, I think a year and a half later after I got it. At this point, I'm surprised there aren't more pirates out there using this stuff. Here we are. That's where I screwed up a little bit. Oh, my favorite artist was Kentaro Miura. I was really gut busted when I found out he died. Yeah, yeah, Max, Adobe software. If they charge you over $200 for it, you're getting screwed. They never they never deliver on their promises for quality and things like that, because sooner or later they abandon stuff and then they charge 7 times the value, and because they've had a monopoly on vector animation for so long, they kind of they kind of made themselves a lot of enemies, because nobody's going to want to buy your damn software if you're going to charge them 2 grand or so for whatever. Oh, and I screwed up. Darn. Yeah, you can see I'm doing stuff on the wrong layers here. Fortunately, I'm fortunately I can cope with deleting all my work and just starting over. There we are. My fault. I get sidetracked on stuff. Oh, yeah. Oh, Mira stuff was a lot of fun to watch. And really be a part of. A lot of people don't realize. I know Berserk is about as unpolitically correct as you can get, based on all the content that happens in it and the things that happen to the characters. But you got to kind of be a broken person to really get Berserk. And I don't think that was Mira's intent, but it kind of is the outcome of it. I don't know if he'd appreciate that or not, but if you're somebody who's had trauma in life, you've got this character going around chopping up these demons and things like that. And I mean, yeah, he's a fantasy character. He's done. He's living in a world that none of us would really want to live in, and it's all make believe. But damn, you see the stuff that Mira put his protagonist through, and then watching the character always get back up on his feet and keep moving is really inspirational. But yeah, watching when I found out that Mira had actually died, I was kind of floored. It was one of those. I don't know if you guys have ever had that moment. It's always that moment you see in a movie where somebody hears the news and it doesn't register, and it takes you a few moments to realize what's going on, or in some cases, it takes a whole night to realize. And I know that's shock, but damn, that really that hurt. I was so miserable about that I couldn't even cry about it. It's just it was I know that there's been a joke online about who's gonna die first. It was George R. Martin or Kentaro Miura, and I always figured out, well, Miura is a young man, Martin's an old guy. Martin isn't creating anymore. Miura doesn't update as much, but he's still putting out stuff pretty steadily. And then it was like a week later, he was gone. It took me the whole night to really kind of process it, because it didn't feel real. I've only had that moment one other time in my life. It was a friend of mine's son ended up killing himself, and while I'd only met the kid a few times, he was one of those guys that you knew when he grew up he was going to be someone special, because he had a way about it. The kid had a way about him where he could actually smile and light up the room, even if it was dark. He was going to be somebody who was going to grow up and be special to a lot of people. And then he committed suicide at 17, 6 years later. And I felt like I got gut punched, because even though I only knew him a little bit, I cared about him. I knew him enough. And you don't seeing. I know I'm gonna sound like an old man, but seeing kids kill themselves is really hard to do, fathom sometimes, because life isn't fair, and sometimes it pushes people into corners and they want to give up. And you really shouldn't, because you never know what's going to happen next. You don't know if things are if because things are as bad as they are now, if they're going to be worse tomorrow, or if they're going to be better tomorrow. You got to stick around to find out. And I always felt sorry for my buddy because that was his only son, and he didn't have a good relationship with his ex-wife, and she didn't even give him the news until umpteen hours later, which I'm still bitter about, even though it's been a long time since this happened. It's one of those things that sticks with you. It's actually it's actually odd. Um, he lost his son, and then a few years later, uh, while he was recovering from all this, he ran into a woman he dated in college, like by now 30 years ago, because my buddy was like what, 27 years older than I was. We were both artists and met through a forum and got to know each other. He did digital FX and I was just a comic artist, but we got along. But he ran into somebody that he knew a long time ago, and he said that while there were sparks between them at the time, he was finishing law school and she was just starting. And she ended up dropping out of law school and having a family. Well, she got divorced, and her husband was remarrying, and she ran into him, and he actually just married her 4 years ago. And the irony of it is she had, what was it? She has 5 kids, triplets, and then two other ones. And the ironic thing is, my buddy is actually a twin. So he ended up retiring and getting out of California because they wanted to find a house that they could have everybody over for the holidays, and they couldn't do that in California because of the prices. So they're over in Kansas now. So he ended up getting married for like the third time in his life. Kind of starting over at 65, and he's got a whole family. So that's actually not a bad. That's not bad that things work. That's not bad how things worked out, even though the circumstances surrounding it are really horrible. And if I could have changed it so his son didn't kill himself, I sure as hell would have, and I know all of his friends and his family would have done the same, because as horrible as a lot of the shit that happens in life, that really does make things a lot worse for everybody who chooses to stick around afterwards. And I'm not saying that bluntly, even though I speak bluntly anyways. I think everybody in their life ends up hitting that point where they question whether they want to stick around or not. But it's ultimate. I'm proselytizing, but I think it's better to stick around and see what happens, even if it's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with. But yeah, that's I'm kind of at that point now myself, because I'm starting over in life. I had to move back in with my folks, but I'm out of California, which kind of sucks because I grew up there, but got too expensive, and I've actually spent the last 8 years or so taking care of my grandparents. And 5 years ago, my grandmother died after a short battle with cancer. So I was taking care of her after that, and then I got to have the roller coaster of taking care of my grandfather. And the problem with that was it's a Portuguese thing, but stubbornness runs in the family, and I'm pretty sure we all get it from him. But he did not make life easy, and he was starting to show signs of dementia. So after dealing with that for 5 years, I kind of had to move on, because that takes a toll. And the ironic thing is, 4 years ago, my mother started showing signs of dementia, which is really a pain in the ass. It's because it's different. It's different for having your grandfather who's in his 90s get it than having your mother who's 58 and showing signs of it. And unfortunately, we do have confirmation that it looks like it's frontal lobe dementia. So we're doing what we can to take care, make sure things are taken care of for her. Yeah, I do stutter when I talk about this shit because it kind of rattles your brain. But yeah, the last 8 years of my life have kind of been a roller coaster, just taking care of family and trying to do my own animations and things like that, and it really burns you out if you're not careful. And I actually realized my sense of humor for how I used to do jokes and stuff has been kind of vanilla over the, and I've known it for a while. I just haven't been able to figure out why my stuff hasn't been as funny as it used to. But I kind of came to the conclusion it's just I'm not the same person that I was when I used to do really funny stuff. Oh, I know I'm good, but I can do better. I'm constantly trying to figure out how to do better. It's actually why I went back to school several years ago. Yeah, I don't like talking about myself because I like to let my work do just do the talking and be there to entertain people. But the internet has very much changed on that, and I'd like to kind of grow my channel a little bit more in order to do that. If I got to share a little bit more, I can do that. It's not the most entertaining thing, is because I don't have the most exciting stories to share. Although it might be more interesting if I did have stories to share outside of the ones I'm trying to write. There we go. Yeah, it took a little while there, but I got the shading cleaned up, and I would just add a little bit of fog. Yeah, so so what I've always struggled to pull this off, the character in two places at once on a panel, so you can show the reaction and the scene itself. For whatever reason, my brain has always had trouble processing that, so I finally pulled it off at 41. Granted, I don't storyboard when I work. I I just do it. So all the animation that you see me do and things like that, for better or worse, there's no real storyboards to any of that up until this last year. I finally got off my butt and wanted to do that because I wanted to put out better quality stuff. Because I'm starting to get restless about some of my projects, because I've got stuff that I've pushed aside for. I've got one comic story that I pushed aside for almost 20 years now, and then I've got animation that I pushed aside for 10 years or so, and a lot of it was me trying to figure out how to tell the stories better on paper. Because I ended up going back to school and getting a degree in screenwriting, because I really was having trouble figuring out why I couldn't make stuff work. And now I know why. Now the problem is finding my own style, but that's a little too soft. But I've kind of had it in the back of my head that I want to start putting out tunes and comics that are about the same quality as what you could get watching a movie. And even if my art style is still kind of finding its own feet, the writing is important. And so I've had some luck. I actually spent this last summer writing a webisode pilot for a Lovecraftian story. I wasn't planning on it, it just happened. And so Also got off my butt and polished it off and submitted it to what is it, like 2 dozen screenplay competitions. And this is my first script. It's 11 and a half pages that I've actually. It's my first proper script. We'll say where I put the time and effort into it. Haven't won anything other than 2 honorable mentions, but everybody's got to start somewhere. And for a first time, even though I'm a late bloomer, that's actually not bad at all. Only problem is animating it. I want to animate it myself just because I'm obsessive like that. And also, I've put a lot of time and effort into learning how to be a better artist and a better writer. I gotta push myself a little further. There we go. That's what I want. So this is meant to be a little bit more German expressionist stuff here. Yeah, when I was much younger, I wanted to be a movie director and screenwriter and do all that stuff, and then life happened little by little and kind of made me lose faith in myself and back off stuff because I kept screwing up. When you when you screw up on basic filmmaking stuff and you've got a degree in it, it means you weren't paying attention, and it means you got it really stings when you realize that you didn't have all the answers, or because you were lazy in class and dicking around and things like that, playing too much Resident Evil 4. Well, the nice thing about comics is all they take is time. Uh, that's that's something I learned a long time ago, and it's very freeing to be able to sit down and draw. And that's why I spend most of my time sitting in front of the computer doing it. But it's nice to be able to tell a story. Max, I don't know. My problem is I've been whenever I start getting ideas for my own projects, if they're related to a popular genre, or it's familiar to something new that's gonna come out. Like if I was gonna do a science fiction one that had a character with a laser sword, and there were Star Wars films coming out, I wouldn't watch the Star Wars films. And I don't want to be influenced. I keep trying to find the answers myself. Well, number 4 was a lot of fun. It's if you ever have time, go watch Hidden Fortress. Hidden Fortress is an Akira Kurosawa film, and it's actually one of the main inspirations for Star Wars. A New Hope is very heavily based on it. There are plenty of differences because this is back when Lucas was really taking chances, even though yeah, he's borrowing ideas from other better filmmakers. But my God, even you see that he never went as far as what Tarantino does, because Tarantino will take story beats to whole movies, and then write a few new scenes, and then slap his name on it. And yeah, it is technically an homage to the work in question. And then he also goes out of his way to make sure that the work that he's doing his homage to gets re-released on DVD, so everybody else can see it too. It kind of disappoints me because he's got. I know he's retiring soon, but he's always had a gift with words that changed Hollywood forever, and then has had everybody trying to imitate what he could do, and nobody could ever do it the way he could do it, and it would always be kind of irritating to see people try. But I always really wanted to see him put out something original of his own. But he's too much of an enthusiast of the genres. I don't know if he's autistic or not. I think he's probably just got a case of the old ADD, but it'd be nice to see him really do something special for his final film, because I know he's kind of said he's had it up to here with Hollywood because he just wants to tell stories. But he also said that once directors get past 50, they start losing their teeth, and I, I'm not going to argue with him on that because I've taken a look at what Steven Spielberg's career has been for the last 20 years, and Jesus Christ, is he terrible now. It's sad to say that because I grew up watching his stuff back in the late 80s and early 90s, but I think he's lost it as a director. I think he needs to do what Lucas has done and just retire, be stick around, offer advice to the younger filmmakers. Yes, Django Unchained was actually based on spaghetti westerns. So the character, was it? There's the I forget the name of the Franco Nero played the character Django in the original spaghetti westerns of the 1960s. And what ended up happening is Tarantino took the name Django and gave it to an I can't remember if he was escaped or freed by Dr. Schultz anymore. I know it's probably both. We'll say Dr. Schultz freed Django. Django in the original it's spaghetti westerns, if I remember correctly, he used to carry a coffin strapped around with a chain and kind of walk through desert areas, and inside that coffin on a chain, he had a minigun with him. It was damn it. I actually used to know that the name of the particular Gatling gun, but it was a Gatling gun. So it was a it was the type where you had to grab the lever and rotate it to open fire, and he'd get into adventures and problems that way. I've seen some of it. I haven't gotten around to seeing it because since I know it's a quasi Lovecraftian story, and I also know the real historical event it's based off of with the two guys who vanished, which is its own creepy story because it's based off a real event. But because once I start getting into something, if it's related to anything else that's come out, I avoid it. And I know the Lovecraftian stuff in the film is kind of hinted at, with the exception of a few tentacle shots. But because I'm doing that with my own story, I can't watch it because then I worry I'm going to start taking other people's ideas. I've always been of the opinion that if you come to the same conclusion someone else does without seeing their work, then it's okay. It's not an issue. I did like the scene with Willem Dafoe cursing him over the lobster, though. That was hilarious. Yep, that's it. The boss fight had a guy with a coffin minigun. That's Django. And when Tarantino made his version of Django Unchained, he got the original actor to play a part in it. He's the one that Jamie Foxx is telling him how to pronounce his name as he says to him the D is silent, and it's when they're watching the guys beat each other to death with hammers at Calvin Candy's estate, which blech. I like horror and gore and everything, but that was a bit that wasn't something I really cared for. It's exciting stuff learning about movies and cinema and things like that, because everything that you see in movies comes from, what was it, Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, and you get to see all the different ways people interpret stuff. Yep. Yeah, yeah, it was the same actor. That's the thing about Tarantino. When he can, he tries to get the original guys involved in these things as an homage to them as actors as well. But yeah, believe it or not, I am something of a film snob. I have trouble with Italian movies because they are very distinct in their style, which is great. But my God, I hate the look, and I hate the coloring, and I hate the audio effects that they use because it doesn't sound right to me, and it drives me up the wall. And it shouldn't, because they're just doing their own thing. But god damn, makes me want to scream sometimes. I've never been able to watch Lucio Fulci films because of that. Because he likes to use all kinds of improper stuff as sound effects for gore, and it's like you hear somebody crunching walnuts, and then they super that over somebody getting chewed up by a zombie. And I know it's an effect; it's there to make you squirm. Just it's like was it nails on a chalkboard for me though. I like it's like Lucas said. Audio is 80% of the movie going experience. And so, yeah, that's why I don't watch Italian movies, even though outside of the basic spaghetti westerns that Sergio Leone does, but even then, the dubbing, the dubbing always kind of gets to me. Yeah, I'm a cinephile, so I am an encyclopedia of movie knowledge. So it's not something I'm proud of. It's just something that sticks with me. Whoa, what are you doing? There you go. Thank you. Yeah, I've got a buddy who's down in LA that he's trying to piece together a script for. I'm not even sure what the kind of a genre is. We'll say a crime thriller that somebody he knows who's down there wants to make, and I'm trying to help him sort it out because I'm really analytical with stuff, whether I like it or not. I That's just how I am. I can fixate on details in logic, and sometimes that's why I have a hard time watching movies. Ikaru, I've yet to see that one. I've seen chunks of it. I mean, I haven't been able to sit down and watch the whole thing. It's on my list. I actually really do like the Seven Samurai a lot, just because of how unique it is as a film, and also the fact that believe it or not, in Japan that was not considered a Japanese movie. When he put that out there, eh, they considered it a western, but that was kind of the point. Kurosawa was such he was a fanboy of John Ford, and John Ford Stagecoach was one of his favorite movies that Kurosawa watched. So when he made Seven Samurai, a lot of the film techniques you see him do in there, lots of the extreme close-ups on actors, a lot of the panning shots for action and things like that. Nobody, even Ford didn't do a lot of that stuff. Kurosawa ended up redefining a lot of action in cinema just by doing all that stuff because he was trying to essentially make a samurai western, and he succeeded very well. And I ended up getting my father that for Christmas a few years ago because it's a really special film. Not just because of who made it, just because of all the work that everybody put into it, and they ended up changing movies as a result of it. Because then action scenes start after that film came out and other people saw it. You start looking at the action scenes in it, and other people started to emulate it more and more. And I know they say, was it impersonation is the sincerest form of flattery, but I still like originality a lot more. But yeah, I also gotta say the last movie I went out to see was the Batman, and I love noir films. I love Batman films a lot. I hated that movie. I thought it was actually one of the worst Batman movies ever made, and they they tried to they tried to deconstruct the Batman through that film, and they really shot themselves in the foot because they took away what makes Batman special in that movie. They took away they made him a very sterile character who's traumatized and he's obsessive. And he does all kinds of things wrong. And you can't overlook some of that stuff because even though they give the excuse that he's a broken character and he's still figuring out how to be Batman and things like that, they sacrificed character in that movie to focus on a mystery that wasn't really a mystery. I won't get into the spoilers because even though I'm pretty sure all two of you have seen it, but the mystery of that film that they're hyping up throughout all the ads and throughout the entire film, that this is going to be a huge revelation and a shocker. It's not. It's really obvious. They didn't write it well. They didn't write any of the characters well. They didn't use the characters that they had well either. The whole mystery about why the Riddler's doing his thing kind of works, but they tried to tell three different movies. In one movie, they tried to tell a serial killer story, a Batman story, and make it a political thriller. The only one they got right was the serial killer story, because you can't have a Batman film where Batman treats Alfred like crap. Doesn't and there's no Bruce Wayne to balance out who Batman is, much less they never let you see another side of any of the characters in that movie. Batman is always Batman to a fault. Catwoman is always kind of mopey, emo, a little sultry, but she's always angry. You never get to see any intimacy in any of the characters in that movie because everybody's focused on stopping the Riddler. And the real problem with that is when you write a screenplay, the characters are supposed to be vulnerable. At some point, you tear the character down so much that they open up, and you get to see just a little bit of what's behind the curtain, and you realize that there's something else going on. This film didn't have any of that, and they didn't do that with any of its characters, and I was starting to get bored halfway through it, and I was wondering what the problem was because it still has an engaging mystery. But then I started to realize, oh shit, they're not showing any other sides of the character. Batman is Batman to a fault, but he's got no relationship with Alfred. He's a dick to Alfred, which I really didn't like because I don't know what the fuck Matt Reeves was thinking when he wrote this shit. Having Bruce Wayne lash out at Alfred, or even be passive aggressive and snide to him and say, "You're not my father, Alfred." That really made me scratch my head. I was just wondering, what the fuck is that shit? Yeah, Alfred is his father. I didn't think the cast really got a chance to shine because of the script. The Riddler was good. I thought he was the best because he actually had something that he got to do. They let him be vulnerable when he screws up, and you see him freaking out over screwing up. You're seeing another side to the character, even if the character's a lunatic. You see some vulnerability. You also see him trying to connect with Batman in the one scene that they really have together. Everybody else was wasted. I liked Pattinson as Batman. I didn't like that they didn't let him be Bruce Wayne. I didn't like that Bruce Wayne in that film comes across more as a spoiled brat. A rich, spoiled brat who, yeah, he's traumatized, and they let him do what he wants. But he's not really a grown-up. He doesn't come across as a grown-up, even though he's highly intelligent. I liked the detective stuff. The first hour of the film was mostly really good. It's just after that I started catching problems. Like, I really liked Jeffrey Wright as Sergeant Gordon in that film. And I was really mad that they didn't let him do anything. Because essentially, it's a detective film. They try and do a Sherlock Holmes and Watson thing going on there. And Watson is there to ask questions so that Holmes can explain stuff to the audience in books and in the movies and the TV show. He's there to ask stuff so that way when something confusing happens, Sherlock Holmes, or in this case Batman, will explain it. But that's all he does in the film. I was kind of disappointed in the Penguin for the same reason. he's a one-note character. He's kind of playing it off as Scarface, which he did a good job playing that off as a Scarface character. But the problem is also, if you know the lore about the characters, the Penguin is, among other things, somebody who's kind of obsessed with high class and things like that. I kind of want. I'm not asking for a song and dance. I really would have just liked to have seen them have characters toss out, a throwaway line that shows a little bit more about who they are as a person for once in a while. If you have the Penguin, take a look at the surroundings, because I hated the Iceberg Lounge nightclub. The look and the style was very on the nose. It was like watching adults try and blend in with kids over what they thought were cool at a nightclub. If they had given him a line where he laments that the place doesn't have any real class, I would have been cool with that, because then it shows a little bit more about who the character actually is. Yeah, I liked Andy Serkis's Alfred. I was pissed off at his Alfred in that film because they didn't let him do anything. He gets a few scenes in the beginning, and then they forget about him. They don't use him ever again, except for to get blown up. And again, they treated Alfred very bad in that movie. Alfred was treated bad. Bruce Wayne was treated worse, because I think that when they made that film, they took a look at everything they had and realized we need to tear these characters down, because that's part. Because then, if we tear them down, people will feel more connected to them, and there's a truth to that in screenwriting. But you don't tear them up, and I thought they tore them up. And having Bruce Wayne not even be a philanthropist in any way, where he has to learn it from the new mayor, where she tells him, "You could really be doing more about this city for the city." Well, that's a little bit much, considering part of why the character was originally a philanthropist was to keep his parents' memory alive. He was keeping their charities going. It was how he still kept some kind of a connection to them. I have seen some of Gotham. I liked parts of it, but the problem is I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. When Gotham was going on, I was taking care of my grandfather and trying to stay sane doing so, because it was about the time I started watching some of Gotham. That was when he was starting to get hit by cognitive issues and things like that. And so sometimes I was helping him out with computer stuff, because he was terrible with technology. And so sometimes we watched a little bit of TV together, but if we did, it was usually movies and stuff. But I liked some of what Gotham, the TV series, had. I just didn't like the overall limits that it had, because it was a TV show, and sometimes they let the actors be a little too hammy for my taste. Which, yeah, it's a comic show, that's part of it. But big problem with becoming a screenwriter and watching television and movies that other people do. You look at the stuff and you're analyzing it, in real time while it's happening. So you're not experiencing it the same way somebody who isn't a writer is going to experience it. But then again, I'm also older now and more cynical about my entertainment, because I keep seeing the quality in entertainment kind of take a dip. I did see the last episode, though. That was very disappointing that they didn't let the Joker actor actually be the Joker. Found out that they actually had a rights issue where they said, "You can't call him the Joker. We're reserving that right for movies only. You can't call this character the Joker on TV series, or people will get confused." Very, very strange. But then again, I just found out Warner Brothers got bought out by Discovery, so. And honestly, I thought that actor did a really good job. He didn't always get the best dialogue, which was a shame, because when they gave him the right dialogue, he was really good. But yeah, I've been a lot more jaded on entertainment these days, just because I see how much more politicized everything is, and I see how vanilla characters are becoming, and there's everything is sort of sterilized in a lot of ways, and it makes me really sad because I actually never thought I'd see that stuff happen on the level I'm seeing it happen. Because there used to be a lot of really exciting shows out there. Better Call Saul. I've yet to watch the new season. I know it just started. I kind of don't want to watch it just because it's the last season, and I've had a real blast with that show. That's been a privilege to watch because it's got all the screenwriting stuff that I learned, and they find ways to surprise me where I'm not analyzing everything because I'm too engaged with what's going on, and it's really exciting to see that on TV, and it's really sad that I don't see people really trying to push more stuff like that out there anymore. I guess it's a risk because not every show can be Breaking Bad, but you can doesn't mean you need to give up trying to put out solid characters and solid writing. But there's a memo out there that I didn't read because that seems to be the standard. Because I've seen what's happened to Star Trek, and Jesus, I thought what they did to Star Wars was bad. Because I grew up watching Next Generation and things like that. Because those were the big shows when I was young. But that's the thing. To be a writer, you got to think outside the box. Thus the silly username for my made-up studio, Outside Box Productions. But I've always been really good at that, even though I'm not as enthused as I used to be when I was in my 20s. Oh yeah, I remember when Ledger died. That was a fucking shocker because it was the week after. He died a week after they released the first real trailer, and you got to see him on camera finally, and you get to see what this version of the Joker looks like. There've been so many versions since then. I don't like the new. I saw the deleted Joker scene from the Batman, and it kind of made me sick how on the nose it is. Meth Mouth the Joker is what I would call the look that they took for the new one, and I don't like it because when I say something's on the nose, it means it's obvious. There's no nuance to it. There's nothing else to see here. What you see is exactly what you're seeing. There's no depth to it, no surprise. It's not made to really tingle your senses. That's all. That's something my old screenwriting teacher would tell us, and he was always really good about ripping up everybody's work in front of the classroom. And he always made a point to tell everybody, if he's calling your work shit, it's because it's shit. It's nothing against you. It's just the quality of your work in the current draft. And yeah, it's depressing to see the inmates are running the asylum down in Hollywood with what they're doing to characters these days. I used to get excited to go when I'd see movie trailers, and now I just kind of gloss over them in YouTube and just kind of shrug my shoulders and go back to doing my own silly stuff. There we go. I think they're running out of ideas for what to do with the Joker anyways. It's depressing to have to say that. Well, the problem with the chemical burns approach that they took is the Gotham TV series found a different way to do it. Where, he lost his hair, and you can see his skin is covered in scars and things like that, but I think they I think they went too far. I think it's I think it loses its the character loses its charm because there are lots of different takes and approaches to the character you can get. When you turn him into a meth addict serial killer, that's not really interesting. If this goes back to me complaining about the writing in that film because every character is pigeonholed into being one thing. Batman is always is Batman to a fault, and the film suffers because of it because you don't get to see him really do anything else other than be angry, be miserable, treat people around him poorly. And I don't know what that says about Quarter Jillian. Oh, the old Adam. Oh, the old Adam West Batman. Very silly. A lot of fun. It's like my used to. I never understood why that show was as uh, sanitized as it was, given the source material's tone. I didn't figure that out until I was older. It's because that was technically a cartoon show for kids back then. So you can't have Batman dodging bullets, or you can't have the Joker actually killing people. But yeah, that movie. You know, I only watched the movie once, and what really hurt is uh, nothing about it really stood out other than that first hour. And I'm usually very good at retaining what I see and remembering it for God knows how long after I've seen it. I almost can't remember that movie outside of the beginning and the end. And because I've got a little bit of the old OCD, whenever I see something that doesn't work in a movie, I go through in my head, how could I fix what's there based off what exists? And so far, the only answer I've gotten is don't let Matt Reeves direct another Batman, write or direct another Batman film because he's put more time into sneaking in Hollywood politics than he did actual characters or character development. Because that's the thing I realized about that movie that really pissed me off is it's it's a movie about people being victims. It's not a movie about people being a guy actually doing the right thing and being a darker hero. It's a movie. It's a movie that's trying to show off if you've been a victim of something, you can rise up against it and make things better because you're a victim of something. But it's really fucking and stupid because it's all Hollywoodisms and shit. I mean, it's because they don't seem to really like heroes anymore. It's odd to see them do superhero films and not really like the actual hero part of it. I just kind of figured it's because anybody can be a victim, but not everybody can be a hero. And so far, I haven't really been proven wrong on some of that. Here we are. I think that's it. Yeah, I've been nitpicking the shading on this image just because like I said, I get lost. I get lost in the details. Came out looking pretty damn good though. I think I can do a little bit better on some of the shading. Yeah, the whole point on why I shade everything the way I do here was technically to spend as little time as possible on the finer details, so I can keep that time focused on the line art. Which where's my shading panel? There it is. Because I get lost in the details, and so I can really turn into a dog chasing its tail. And spending 2 hours on one panel isn't great, but I've spent more than that on other panels in the past, and I don't want to do that. The idea is to try and get this stuff out a little bit faster, so then I don't spend as long so that I don't spend as long on it, and I do a better job of moving on, because I've got all kinds of other projects that I'm trying to get out. I actually took a break from animating this week. I think I've done all of like 1 second of animation this week, just so I could spend a little bit more time. There we go. That's better. On doing comic stuff. There's a couple comic competitions coming out. I'm actually going to get off my ass and try and get a few chapters of Breached. That's the name of this comic. Try and get a few chapters of this ready, because I've got about maybe a fourth. Like, no, not even that. I've got maybe a fifth of chapter 1 finished here. And I figure if I can improve my pacing, I could probably get maybe 2 chapters or so done for the competition. Maybe I can win a couple dollars. Because yeah, starting over in life kind of sucks when you move to a few states over. And I've been a city boy most of my life, and now I'm over in a rural area in Montana. Granted, I actually kind of like it more here. It's quiet. The snow is a bit much. But it's nice not to have everybody hyper-politicized like my last 2 years in California ended up being. There. Yeah, we are. That'll do. Yeah, I think that's it. This came out nice. Not perfect, but I got the tone I wanted at the very least. That's the problem when you learn how to do all this stuff yourselves. There's all kinds of trial and error. But the good news is I'm getting there. I've had bigger projects that I've been wanting to do for so long, and I've had to get better as an artist before I can even think about it. So this year I've really been fighting to catch up on lost time. Because when you're taking care of somebody, you stop focusing on a lot of what you do, and you settle for what you can do instead of what you really want to do. That takes that little bit of extra time. Hey, good talking to you too. I'm actually about done for the night here. This was a test stream, since I'm trying to get a little bit more watch time on my channel, because my channel's watch time is shit because I do short tunes, and I'm trying to see if I can finish off getting that YouTube partnership this year. Because if I can do that, then I can start making a few dollars with my work, and then I can presumably grow a little bit more and maybe start earning enough for part-time living off this one of these days. But one day at a time. It's good talking to you. Let me see if I can pull up the other windows so I can show off what I have of the comic overall. I just gotta finish off this one last thing. Not a problem. Well, I've learned a lot by screwing up, and then I've learned a lot watching other people screw up, and made sure to take what notes I could from it. Put this up here. Yeah, I really am trying to get this damn German expressionist dreary look going here. Let's see if I can pull up the folder. Let's see. There we are. that's it. Let me see if I can pull this up. Hope OBS isn't going to be too much of a pain in the ass. Hello, I just came to about the end of the stream, dude. See if I. Oh, where's my window? There's my window. See, that's chapter 1. That's not what. Well, I wonder what's being. Let's see. Let's see if I can just do this. 1, 2. I'm just pulling up the finished comic pages I already have. Figure since I am closing up shop, I might as well show off the little bit I've been doing. Yeah, this was supposed to be like a 45-minute stream, and I got caught up in the finer details of doing my thing, so it ended up being 2 hours and 50 minutes. So let's pull it up. Let's see, that's paint 1. That's not what I want at all. That's what I want. Yeah, it's been a long day. I'm getting a little tired, but I've got another 45 minutes in me. I'm going to try and finish off some animation. Writing is a big one. Problem is, I get lost in my own head. I've got ideas that I've been sitting around for so long. I like going for walks. I like cooking. I'm doing my best to try and get a little bit more into shape now that I'm getting a little older. Here we are. I think this will work. But yeah, I'm kind of a blank slate because artistically I get lost in a lot of my ideas because I love stories. I always have. When I was growing up as a kid, let's see, that's paint 1. There we go. Let's shut down OBS for a moment. When I was growing up as a kid, I actually grew up really fucking poor. Grew up in a crummy neighborhood. Grew up poor. That's all part. There we are. So 2, 3, 4. That's better. Yeah, we went out for a second there. So my father used to read stories to us when I was growing up, since we had a crappy TV, crappy VCR that didn't really work, but he had all kinds of books for us to read, and that's where I really picked up a love of story. Used to read stuff like Conan the Barbarian, Lord of the Rings, some Lovecraft stuff, lots of Robert E. Howard things, and then other things. Sometimes he would just read history. It's all exciting stuff, I find. Oh, might as well narrate what's going on. So, here we go. We've got the character waking up. And this is my little opening shot. And then, if this was a camera, it would pull back and you'd see a close-up of the character's face and a little bit of the setting. The dark shadows outside is supposed to just be me knocking off old German expressionist silent film lighting, where it's got that really weird look that it looks like the character's sort of engulfed in shadows and stuff like that. That was paint 1. wait a moment for this to catch up. Here we go. Let me pull this up. I'll just try and correct it since it's a little crooked. But yeah, other hobbies are gaming because, well, I grew up with that. Can't, old habits die hard. Uh, I still try and read books from time to time. I've never been great at sports. I bashed up one of my knees when I was young, and it started giving me trouble. So yeah, we got the Shasta's reaction to the skull. And seeing, oh damn it, I thought I had that centered. I'm sorry. You guys are only seeing half the work here. There, I think that's better. There we go. I think that should do it. So yeah, I guess my basic hobbies would just be cooking, going for going for walks, trying to work out just a little bit so I don't get too fat. I like to go shooting once in a while with my father. Yeah, mostly my mind is just kind of hyper fixated on stories and stuff like that. And when I'm always doing something else, it always goes back into it. But I like learning history because history is a lot of fun. I'm a weeb, so I do watch anime, which shouldn't be a surprise. You see my work. and for the and for the most part, after just seeing how crazy the internet's gotten, I kind of try to keep to myself a little bit more. I shouldn't, because I don't like what I see out there, and generally just trying to get people to mellow out a little bit instead of freaking out would be kind of nice. Let's see, that's chapter 1, paint. And and here we go. This is the last. I guess this is the last panel of the evening. So yeah, this is me redoing Breached, because this is my SCP comic. I like to come up with my own silly stuff, but I kind of got attracted to the idea of the SCP monsters 2.5 years ago. Just been having fun piecing together stories here where I've got a character trapped. That's why it's called breached, as in there's been a breach in the containment. The only problem was when I did this story originally, I wrote myself into a corner. Yep, I wrote myself into a corner, unfortunately, and couldn't really write myself out of it. And then I, I had to start getting ready to move, little by little. So I had to start pushing comics aside. Not to mention when COVID kicked in, I'm usually pretty good at staying self-motivated, but goddamn, the second half of that year burned the hell out of me out as an artist. I know this happened to a lot of other people too, but all the restrictions on everything and kind of having to stay at home all the time it stopped being fun after about 4 months. But either way, so I'll probably try and condense this video and edit it down so I can show the speed in which I drew everything. Also try and get some decent quality images over there. But so I'll probably be trying to do a couple of these streams twice a week since I'm kind of sitting at my computer drawing anyways. I don't know what a good time to do that is. The only reason I'm doing it as late as I am is because it took me 45 minutes to figure out what I was doing wrong on OBS, and I contemplated just tossing in the towel and doing this tomorrow, but I figured fuck it, I might as well get it right now. Besides, it's nice to have people to hang out with while I do a little bit of work. Because sitting in here with a cat on my lap isn't always the most fulfilling thing. So either way, that's it for tonight. I'll probably try and get another one of these going on Tuesday. I gotta plot out a few things, so instead of sitting around watching me draw storyboards for everything, I can have the storyboards done and draw the details. So I will catch you guys a little later. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll try and make this a regular thing just so I can get a little bit of watch time and you guys can see how I actually do some of this stuff. Because I'm also trying to get to the point where I don't nitpick as much, because I can spend just as much time nitpicking my work as I do actually getting something done. And there's only so many hours in a day. So, catch you guys later. I'll try and have some more interesting stories to tell. So, other than that, catch you guys later, and good night.